What's up, riders? My name's Chewy. Today we're going to be reviewing the brand new EXT Storia Lok version 3. Who wants to see me unbox this bad boy? That's right, no one. Unboxing videos are stupid.
I wake up on Sunday morning, feel that ache inside my heart. I can hold on any longer, seconds from falling apart.
So here it is, I've got it in my hot little hands. This is the version 3 of this shock. I've actually done 2 previous reviews of the version 2. I will leave a link to those down in the comments below if you want to check those out. And I actually compare one of them to the Push Industries 11.6. So go and take a look at those if you're interested in buying this shock as well. Now, there's a few refinements that they've made over the version 2. I aim to go over those today. What this shock is like to ride on the trail, I'll cover that as well. So let's go over a few of the features. This has low speed compression, high speed compression, rebound adjustment, and one added feature that they've put in for this new shock is called the HBC, which is called hydraulic bottom mount control, and I'll touch on that as well. Now, the high speed and the low speed clickers are a different configuration, and they've rearranged where everything sits. It's more of a redesign than a rethink of the whole shock, which is definitely improving on the accessibility of the clickers, and is definitely an improvement over the old shock. Now with the version 3, there is no tool-free low-speed compression adjuster. It now requires a 4mm Allen key. This actually improves the accessibility to the high-speed compression adjuster, which is a 12mm size socket. Previously, you would have to use the 12mm open end spanner, which was super annoying to do the adjustment on the high-speed compression. Now all you need is a small 12mm socket, and you can place it directly over the low speed compression because there's no tool-free lever. Now you're definitely sacrificing the tool-free adjustment of the low speed compression. Now all in all, I think that's actually an improvement. This shock also has a lockout switch. LOK stands for lock. Now this is going to improve your pedaling platform to reduce the amount of bob that you have when you're pedaling. If you're standing up to pedal up a trail, if you're seated and climbing up the road. Now you can tune in how firm the lockout switch actually locks out. I've had a few variations of this shock. This is my 3rd one, and there is a difference between each shock on how firm it actually is. So if you're a type of guy that likes it really firm for the road climbs, then make sure you tell EXT when you actually order your shock, and they can dial it in for you. I have mine a little bit less firm, and I actually use it as a bit of a trail mode. And the beauty of this lock switch is you can actually use it as a trail mode because it has a blow-off valve to stop it from causing any damage to the shock if you do forget to turn it off before you drop into a downhill descent. They've also refined the rebound adjuster. Now you can actually remove the spring without having to take this rebound adjusting knob off. Now the rebound adjustment, I would like to see a little bit more range in the rebound adjustment. I do often find myself kind of in between clicks of where I like to have my rebound set, but that's a very minor niggle and it might not affect you. Now this shock comes as standard with 2 spring options that are 25-pound increments apart. Now I do find that EXT do underspring their shocks a little bit. I find myself adding up to 75 pounds of spring rate to my shock. Now that's quite a lot. Let me know in the comments down below if you have one of these and you find it's a little bit soft or undersprung, and that might be something you can consider changing up as well or requesting from the factory when you do order yours. One crucial bit of adjustment that I want to make sure that you guys try if you have one of these at home is the preload on the spring and how great an effect that this has on the trail performance. I find this shock very, very sensitive to spring preload adjustments. Now what I suggest you do if you have one of these is you do some bracketing with your preload adjustment. And what I mean by that is get the spring to seat so it's just touching on the preload collar, and then ride your bike. Do a little bit of trail and then turn it to the next detent on the body. Ride a bit more, turn it to the next detent. So you're slowly increasing the preload and you're getting a feel for what it's like at each preload setting. Then maybe try your different spring and repeat that bracketing process. This is very, very sensitive to the spring preload, and I find it one of the crucial things that you have to try and get right before you start playing with your clickers. What they've also done with this shock is add the hydraulic bottom out control. Now this is also a welcome feature because what this has allowed them to do is reduce the size of the bump stop that it sits on the stanchion down here. Now this bump stop is much thinner than on the V2, and the bump stop is actually controlled by this hydraulic bottom out control, which greatly ramps up the last 15% of the stroke. And having this smaller bump stop on here actually allows you to use more of the travel more often which can actually give the feeling of having a longer suspension travel bicycle. Now I find that when I'm trundling through the big gnarly stuff that this shock handles it a little bit better than the previous shock. Now when you compare this shock to the version 2, I find it slightly better at everything. It's not amazingly better at anything, but it's definitely a slight improvement overall. It's a little bit like when you compare an iPhone 10 to an iPhone XS. It's a little bit better at everything. If you own the version 2, would you sell it and buy a version 3? Probably not. If you have something from Shox or Fox or something like that, then this shock is going to be a huge upgrade and you'll definitely be able to eke a lot more performance out of your suspension. Can I recommend this shock for purchase? It is very expensive. It's 890 euros. Now that is not cheap, but if you're looking to get the most out of your suspension platform, definitely get this shock. This shock can handle absolutely everything that I can throw at it. And when you do get up to speed, it can handle those long, fast descents. Even if you're doing enduro race runs, it's going to be fine. Now, one thing I like about this shock in particular, it is a coil shock, so it feels the same every single time you get on your bike. And when you are up to race pace on this shock and you are pushing it to its absolute limit, it will handle absolutely everything that you can throw at it without any problem whatsoever. If you're doing very, very long competition style downhill runs, this shock will love it. If you found this video useful, give me a like and share it with your friends. If you think I'm a Muppet, just type Muppet. That's all for me, guys. You right on.